All right. Morning, everyone. Start it up. Okay. Last night's session in the States was a bit of a non-event. We kind of traded around sideways for most of the session, really consolidating up near the all-time highs in the S&P 500. I don't think that we closed the all-time highs, but we traded to an all-time high intraday. So, but we were right there. I mean, obviously a point or two. So, I mean, you can kind of call it all-time highs. We had oil, which actually started the session in the States quite a bit weaker, made a bit of a reversal toward the end of the session and finished in positive territory. I think that helped buoy some of the mining stocks and some of the oil stocks toward the end of the session when we had already had a hell of a reversal toward the end of our session. So we had Empire Manufacturing data that came out as well, down from February's reading. Home builder sentiment as well, a little bit softer. So we're starting to see a little bit more mixed data out of the States again here. And I don't know, we'll have to see if that has any traction. If we look into the Asian session, we have the Australia market and the Nikkei that traded considerably better overnight. Australia again, kind of hanging on with some of the mining stocks there. One of the we had a 7-year high out of Toll Holdings after a takeover bid from Japan Post Holdings. Woodside Petroleum trading higher, mining stocks pretty solid on the session. Again, we had Shanghai that was closed on the day, and but not a whole lot of new information really out of Europe. We had Japan, which had a monetary policy meeting that basically kept everything in place. There was a small thought that they may start to take some of the stimulus away based on some of the recent commentary out of the central bank, but that didn't. So I think that obviously helped buoy the market and the Nikkei a little bit. Right, if you look at chart to interest in the day, it's coming out of Charlie Balilla, again, out of Pension Partners. Japan basically showing its first positive reading in 12 years. And this is in real terms here. So I think that is hugely significant. And I actually think maybe it is showing that the stimulus is working. So that's a hell of an interesting chart there. It's that the first time that they really get aggressive on stimulus and you start to see the economy really turn. I think a lot of that's probably because of weaker yen. So they weakened the yen by about 20% over the past year. So it's a hard one to really compare, but I think it's significant nonetheless. All right, this morning today we've got City Lodge Hotels here locally. We've got Duke Energy out in the States and EOG Resources in the States. In terms of market data, we've got a lot going on. We had Japanese machine tool orders that came out earlier in line. We've got CPI here at 10. We've got BOE minutes at 11:30. We've got retail sales here locally at 1. Then we've got a slew of data out of the States: mortgage apps, housing starts, PPI final demand, industrial production, and then we've got the meeting from the minutes from the Fed meeting. So, all right, let's get into the maps. Okay, first thing that I wanted to have a look at this morning is sorry. Here we go. So this is the U.S. 10-year Treasuries. Now this is, to me, was really interesting last night. And one of the things that I was watching really closely, and I think is probably, I don't know if you would call it a sleeper, but I didn't see, no one was talking about it yesterday. This is significant. We popped up above 2%, but not only did we get above 2%, we exploded through 2%. Over the past week, we've had our biggest percentage moves in the 10-year Treasury in history. We've moved up 30% in 10-year Treasuries over the past couple of weeks. I mean, that's an incredible move, and that's without question a shift. Yesterday Sean showed the chart and we're kind of breaking out of this downtrend, and we are breaking out of this downtrend here. Sean showed the chart yesterday of the interest rate hike expectations, and it's the closest it's been in forever. I mean, this only got closer after yesterday as well. You know, this move in Treasuries is significant. You know, when you start to see Treasury prices bumping up like this, you normally have it typically starts to become the last leg of that bull market. So just keep that in mind. This is a huge, huge reversal. This is a very big deal in what's going on right now in global equity markets, and it's going to start to reshape some things. Namely, in one of the biggest components of that is the gold price here, which you saw a huge sell-off yesterday. Really broke out of a bit of a downtrend here. We actually have a kind of a minor head and shoulder pattern. Sorry about that. Minor head and shoulder pattern going on here. If we were to zoom in on this a little bit, maybe a weak left shoulder right over here. And same thing, obviously a little bit of a weak right shoulder, but you know, I think that either way, however you look at it, the pattern's not bullish. You know, we've dropped, I think, without question, out of whatever kind of uptrend that we were in. I think we've now dropped, and to me, this is. I mean, you've seen it in the gold prices. The gold prices, or the gold shares, have really been leading the way for the gold price, and I think the gold price probably has more to come to the downside. You've also got platinum, which dropped major support yesterday into the close. I mean, this is just across the board. You can see here, very, very bearish for the sector, what's going on with Treasury yields. So, we had this conversation the other day and talking about, how the rest of the world's cutting, but at the end of the day, these things are priced in dollars. And so the pressure on them as yields start to go up is significant. And you can see here. So watch the platinums today. These also could be in play with the platinum price really dropping out of, I think, a major consolidation and really setting us up technically for a big down move here in platinum. All right, next one we'll have a look at is some of these our locals had big reversals yesterday. I'm going to show a 2-day chart. So I'll show a 2-day chart here on Anglos. You can see this basically only shows the session yesterday. So we started down here like 216. We went nuts. We traded all the way up to 226. And then we made a hard reversal into the close in yesterday's into the yesterday's session. Billiton's was even worse. Came within a buck or two of making actually a key reversal on the day, which would have been significant. I think if you look at that in London terms, we really looks very similar. And I think today I would expect that these things will look heavy at some point today. If they trade up a little bit in the open, I think that could be a great opportunity to look to sell some stock in some of these things. I think that if you look at the longer term run, sorry, let me just go into the South African listing here again. We moved from sub 220, okay, all the way to 292 or 293 we traded to yesterday. In percentage terms, I mean, we moved up 30% basically in Billitons, or right at 30%. I mean, that's a huge move. And so after this counter trend, which it is counter trend, remember, we've been in a huge downtrend. We moved from 380 to 220, so this was probably a deserving bounce. But I'm thinking that this bounce may well be over. This is very, very important. I'm spending a lot of time on this. And the reason why, is for several different reasons. You can see here in London and Billitons as well, there's some big resistance here at 16 pounds, which we popped through, but we failed it quite significantly into the close. I think that these are all big things. I think that if you look at the scale of these moves and these bounces, these counter trend bounces, and the reversal that we saw yesterday, I think that will mark a turning point for these shares, and that they're probably going to most likely start to resume their move a little bit lower. We also had Sasol that was out as well. Sasol broke out above this 480 level, only to also make a reversal. I can look at that on the 2-day as well, and you can see how hard we reversed in Sasol there yesterday afternoon. So bottom line is, if we hold under 480 here, if we make a bit of a reversal in Sasol as well, especially I think through the kind of 455 level, then I think that we can see some downside there as well. So there's a couple stocks on the commodity space that I think can really come into play here over the next couple of sessions. That's what I think is the most important thing to watch at the moment as we speak, and we're going to see how this plays out in the next couple of sessions. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.